Gus was named for his grandfather, and his full name is August. His grandfather had died the year before he was born, so he really didn't, he never got to know his grandfather. But he would insist that he was Grandpa Augie. If we were referring to Grandpa Augie, he would just say, you mean me? You know, he was just very adamant, like, we should know that he is Grandpa Augie.
Where's me?
There. There.
Where's me again? See if you can find me somewhere else.
Gus was 4 when Ron was given an old family album. To his parents' astonishment, Gus was able to point out his grandfather in an old school photograph. He also correctly identified this as the first car that his grandfather ever owned.
He showed me a picture, and then I said, that was my first car. And then my dad was like, that's weird, because the car was Grandpa Augie's first car. So it was all scared.
Kathy and Ron were intrigued by their son's ability to identify his grandfather in photos. But one day, Gus told them something that turned their intrigue to shock.
Gus and I were chatting, and he started saying something about Grandpa Augie, which wasn't unusual. And I said to him, when you were Grandpa Augie, did you have any sisters or brothers? He said, well, I had a sister, but she died. And so that sort of caught my attention because, you know, we haven't had any deaths in the family. And he said, well, she died. And I just sort of looked at him and he said, yeah, she turned to a fish. She died, some bad guys.
I just was flabbergasted. I really was just I was speechless because I just couldn't understand how he would know anything about that.
Apparently what happened was his aunt was murdered and her body was dumped into the San Francisco Bay.
There was no way he could know anything about her circumstances and how she died because it was never discussed and was barely discussed with me, with him and my family. To hear my son, who didn't know my father, didn't know his aunt who was murdered, speak about this, and because that's when I just went, there's something going on here that I just don't understand.
For many in the West, reincarnation is an alien idea. Chris French believes that it's simply a comforting illusion, which helps some people avoid the difficult realities of death.
On the one hand, you've got science that says, once you die, that's it, that's the end, nothing else. On the other hand, you've got a belief system that says you will survive, you will be reunited with your loved ones. In a sense, you do go on forever. You know, how much more appealing can you get? I mean, we all want that, we'd all want to believe that.
For Kathy Taylor, her son Gus's belief that he was his own grandfather reborn went totally against her own religious upbringing.
I grew up a Southern Baptist. My father's a Southern Baptist minister, and Southern Baptists certainly don't, you know, teach anything about reincarnation. So that was not, you know, that was furthest from my mind when Gus started saying these things. This one day he sort of popped up and looked at me and said, you know, Mom, when we die, we get to come back. And he looked at me again and he said, I used to be big and now I'm a kid again. And he was just very excited about this. He said that God gave him a ticket. And, you know, he also referred to a porthole and that he came through a porthole and that he used to be big and all of a sudden he's through this porthole and then he's a kid again.
Curiously, the description of the rebirth given by Gus in America has strong parallels with Cameron's account in Scotland.
He talks about falling through from Barra to here. I asked him, how did you get here? And he just talks about, I was in Barra and I fell through to you. And I'm saying, what do you mean? And they'll say, no, it was just like a hole and I fell through, and that's all he says. It used to be Caitlin, and what was the other one?
Megan.
Megan.
You're fucking Megan, I'm Caitlin. You fancy everyone's a whole I want. Not done yet.
Aaron and Cameron had been playing, and Aaron had mentioned how it's okay if you die, because Cameron said you come back again as somebody else, so it didn't matter if you died.
It has become clear to Norma that there are no easy answers to the questions thrown up by Cameron's memories. Cameron has asked persistently to be taken to Barra. Norma has finally decided to make that journey.
We are going to go to Barra. I mean, it wasn't a decision that was made lightly. I've gave it an awful lot of thought, stood up to an awful lot of folk that were against me doing it, and I just hope I proved them that I was right to do what I've done. Come on.
Perhaps the trip will provide an explanation for Cameron's memories, or put them to rest.
You want to run now? I think I'm hoping that when Cameron goes, it gives them proof, or, I mean, they maybe go here and they'll say, that's not Barra, so then that's fine, that's not Barra, end of story, that's the end of it. But I think it's reached a point, it's went too far. It's gone too far just to leave it now.
At the University of Virginia, Dr. Jim Tucker has been speaking to Norma and following Cameron's case with interest.
Well, Cameron's case certainly sounds like a very promising one. He's given the name of a place, which fortunately turns out to be a rather small place, and he's also given the name of a person. So with all the details that he's given, if we're able to verify a match, that would be quite intriguing.
For Jim, to follow a case as it unfolds is a unique opportunity. He is flying from Virginia to Glasgow to join Norma and pursue the story in person.
I mean, as it stands now, it's a very interesting story. If we're able to verify the statements, then it becomes more than that, because then it becomes evidence that he actually does have memories that have carried over from a previous life.
This is Cameron.
Hi, Cameron.
Cameron, you saying hello?
Hello.
I'm Dr. Tucker. How are you?
This is Dr.
Hi,
Tucker.
Martin. What can you tell me about the house that you lived in?
It was white.
How many stories were there? Was it just one level, or was it more than one?
One level.
Yeah. Did you see your dad get knocked out by the car? Yeah. You remember his name? Yeah, what was his name?
Shane Robertson.
Shane Robertson. Do you remember what he looked like?
He had spiky hair and he always wore shirts.
Spiky hair, is that what you
And
said?
always wore shirts.
So,
Norma finally has someone to talk to who really understands her experience.
remind him of it?
It was getting to a point he was that convincing. I'm sure folk thought I've adopted him, or like he wasn't really mine, because he spoke so convincing about this other family.
And has it slowed down, or is it still going as strong as
And
ever?
it calmed down for a wee while, but then it's back.
Is he excited about the trip?
Yeah.
Yeah.
After 3 years of listening to Cameron's descriptions of life on a remote island, Norma and Martin are taking him on a journey of another lifetime.
How's he going to react? What if he gets upset? What if we go and these things are there, how he's described?
Cameron is finally going to visit the place that he calls home.